Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of HVAC Technician Talk. This particular topic here is it can be a pretty touchy subject. So we're talking about side work. I kind of touched on this briefly, I think on the first episode, how I fired my employee for doing a side job. So people ask some questions about that, and we're going to get to it. But let's talk about side work in general. Side work is something that you're never going to stop. Every employee does side work and will do it. So if you think you're going to stop it, it's not going to happen. Now, let's talk about who you work for. And, should side work be frowned upon? Stuff like that, because I have mixed feelings about side work. So let's say that you work at an apartment complex, doing HVAC, or, well, first of all, this is not just for HVAC, okay? Plumbers do side work. Electricians do side work. Welders do side work. There's all trades, carpenters. Everybody does it. People that build decks for a living or this or that. Everybody does side work. Like my father was a welder and a pipe fitter by trade before he got into HVAC. Well, he worked at a plant, so he had his own welding rig at home, and he did side work. But the plant didn't care. He worked at a plant. That's not competition. So they didn't care less. As long as he wasn't doing it on their time, he didn't care. So, that's a very good thing to bring up is, if you're a plumber or an electrician or HVAC. But we're going to mainly stick with HVAC because this is an HVAC channel and I am an HVAC company owner. If you work at an apartment complex or you work at a hospital doing HVAC and you do side work, I don't see anything wrong with that. You're not directly competing with them. Now, I do kind of frown upon it if you work for somebody like me or a large, or a service company. But if you're going to do it, at least use your own material. So let's get to why I fired my employee. My employee was at a gas station in my truck with my name all over the truck. Well, a man and a woman came up to him and said, "Hey, we want to put a new unit in our house. Do you have a business card so we can call and get an estimate?" And they asked him if he was the owner, and he said, "No, I'm not the owner of the company." Well, and I found all this out later. He took it upon himself to offer to do the job on the side instead of giving them my business card. So basically he cut my throat. He cut me out of the job. And it's not the customer's fault. The customer could have called me, and said, "Hey, your guy just offered to do," we asked him for a card and he offered to do it on the side. But, how many customers are really going to do that? So, of course, they took the deal. And then I get a call several months later saying, "Hey, the unit you put in is not working." And I'm like, "Okay, well, what's your name?" So I get on House Call Pro and I have my QuickBooks integrated, but sometimes I'll still go directly to QuickBooks and make sure. And I had no record of these people. They weren't on my customer list. I had never done a job for them. And they said, "Yeah, your guy did it on a Saturday." And I was like, I said, "No." I said, "We don't We usually don't. I said we don't do installs on Saturdays unless it's an emergency. I said, and I have no record of doing a job for you. It's like they didn't want to admit, that they had got him to do it on the side, and they were like, oh yeah. His name was so and so, and he was in your truck. He had your shirt on, and he came on a Saturday and did it. Excuse me. I said, look, ma'am, I have no record of doing any work for you whatsoever. I said, I never even gave you an estimate. I said, and I'd have an estimate in the system before we'd have did an install. And I said, well, let me ask you this. What kind of unit did he put? She said a Goodman. Well, I knew right then and there. I said, okay, well, I know right then and there I didn't do the job. I said, because I don't sell Goodman. And she said, well, he did it on the side. And I said, I said, well, how did y'all get in contact with him? And that's when she started telling me that they approached him at the gas station and all that, So this guy went to Goodman and he didn't buy it on my account. They did a cash ticket for him, but he bought the system, but he used my truck, my gas, my torches, my vacuum pump, my copper fittings and whatever else he used. So when I found out about that, he was instantly fired. Now, I do frown upon that, doing side work in that matter. Now, you got a family member or something and you want to do it on the side, just come ask me and I'll probably help you. Or if you got a family member or a friend that called and said their stuff's not cooling and you want to go do it, again, just tell me, hey, I got a cousin or a this or a that their air's not working. Can I go see about it on the side? Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. I would tell you, yeah, that's fine. Go see about it. Just whatever you use off the truck, let me know. And either you pay for it or I'll take it out your check. Because I've done that. Me and Dad have done that. People, but they came up and asked us, hey, my aunt or this or that, her unit's not cooling. Can I, I need to go see about it. Yeah, go ahead. If you use a capacitor or a contactor or, this or that or whatever, Freon, and now on Freon, I tell them, look, we'll take the Freon out your check. Now, of course, we won't mark it up. We didn't mark it up on them. We would just take the cost out of their check. Let me know how many pounds you used. However much it cost us, that's what we'll take out your check. No upcharge on the Freon. If you use a capacitor, either you buy the capacitor, contactor, transformer, relay, whatever you use, either you replace it with your money or we'll take it out of your check. And, guys were fine with that. But, what he did, he didn't even, he just took it upon himself to do that job on the side. And that was a big job. It's not like if it had been a service call or something, probably would have just had a talk with him, and told him, look, if I ever catch you doing anything like that again, you're gone. But, the fact that this guy went and did a full change out, I wasn't going to tolerate it. So I called him and I said, hey, I found out about, I said the customer, the customer's name and all that. And he was like, what you mean? I was like, dude, don't play with me like that. Just admit what you did, and he did. And of course he asked me not to fire him. And I said, no, dude, I said, you're fired. Get your stuff off my truck. I'll be there to pick it up in a little bit. So he got hit the little bit of stuff he did have. I mean, I supplied him everything, gauges, most of the hand tools I even supplied, which, normally we don't do that, but, yeah. So he got the little bit of stuff that was his off my truck. And I picked my truck up. That was too much. So that's how I feel about side work. If you're gonna do it, guys, and you work for somebody like me or a bigger service company, at least have the the decency to tell your boss, or if you're not going to tell your boss, use your own truck, use your own parts. Don't steal from your employer. You guys don't understand what it costs to run a business. Already it costs enough to run a business. So if you guys are going on jobs on the side and using our parts and stuff, you don't realize what you're doing to us. So, but if you work at a apartment complex as a maintenance man, or at a hospital or some kind of facility doing HVAC, and you do work on the side, I don't think they would care. That shouldn't be an issue. But if you work for a service company like myself, you need to have the decency to tell your boss, ask permission especially if you're going to use their truck and their parts if you don't have any. But if you're not going to ask permission, you need to at least use your own vehicle, your own parts, and don't steal from your company that you work for, because it costs us enough to run a company. The last thing we need is people stealing our stuff to do side work. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about this topic. You can leave them in the comments. If you're listening on the audio podcast, you can text me at 337-541-1252. Again, that's 337-541-1252. And you can email me at hvactechniciantalk@gmail.com. Guys, that's all I got for you on this topic. I hope you enjoyed it. And we will see and talk to you guys on the next one.